and welcome to Candid Conversation. For the first time in over 90 years, a separate railway budget was not presented this year. Railways has now become an integral part of the general budget. So how does the Railway Ministry view this? What are its priority areas and how does it plan to confront the challenges before the railways? To talk about that and more, we are joined today by Railways Minister Suresh Prabhu. Welcome, Mr. Prabhu, to Candid Conversation. On the 1st of February this year, we saw Independent India's first combined budget. Did you miss presenting a separate railway budget?
You know, if you look at it, railways is part of a government of India. All the monies that we collect as revenues and all the expenditure that we make goes out of consolidated fund of India. Therefore, logically, there should be only one budget, but sometimes we carry forward the burden of legacy. So this has been the case for so many years that a separate railway budget was prepared. And as a railway minister, I would be happy that at least on Doordarshan I can be seen for 2 hours when I present the budget and then some publicity. But if you look at a larger public interest, ideally there should be only one budget. Some people say railways are important, that's why there should be a separate budget. We got a railways when the Britishers were ruling India. The UK Parliament does not prepare a separate railway budget. There are railways in so many countries. No other country prepares a separate railway budget. So why should be a separate railway budget? What is important is that railways must get the autonomy of functioning, which I can tell you has not been compromised at all.
So the autonomy of railways continues to be retained?
100%. In fact, that is what was reiterated by the finance minister. In fact, even this time, we prepared the project which should be implemented. We are actually taking decisions on most of them. Finance minister supports us fully by making necessary budget allocation. Even there, you'll be surprised that this year the finance minister said that railways should get 1,31,000 crores as a capital outlay. He has provided in his budget 55,000 crores as a gross budgetary support. So the balance amount we are raising. So that continues to be the case. In fact, there has never been a case in the past wherein so many extra budgetary resources were raised by the railways to finance the infrastructure. And what is the result of that? You are seeing single line operating at a level of 130%, 140% of capacity. There are some lines which are operating at 150% of capacity. What is the result? You are causing delays. You are compromising with safety. You are not able to renew your rolling stock. We have more than 40,000 coaches in the railways which are not proof to any shock that they take. For example, if there is like when there is a accident, the number of people die are higher because the rolling stock is not resistant to taking those shocks. When there is a derailment that happens globally. But in India, the deaths that occur because of that are fabulous, unacceptable. So what we really need to do therefore is improvise rolling stock, bring in new technologies, modernize our railway stations, bring new track-laying machines, use technology to detect cracks. All of this needs money.
So will those be your priority areas in the utilization of the 1,31,000 crore rupees railway outlay that the budget has provided?
So we are working on this as a strategy. The first full budget presented by me of Narendra Modi government laid out a complete strategy about what we'll do in the next 5 years' time. The second budget that again I presented was a next step forward in first what we implemented, and we implemented 136 points of whatever was said in my first budget speech. I was the first railway minister to give action taken report to the Parliament of India. The second budget I presented was a continuation as well as a next step forward into that direction of modernizing the railways, of revamping the railway infrastructure, of augmenting the capacity and all that.
But there is still a backlog of incomplete projects. Will some of that outlay be used to clear that backlog?
Huge backlog because, see, in the past, we felt that last budget I announced 10 projects. That is already announced, so people have accepted now. I must announce another 10 projects. Because what happened to 10 projects, people will not ask because I already announced. Now next 10 projects I should announce. So our focus was making announcement, not of completion of the project. The first time we are decided to work on, first complete the existing ongoing project which are closer to completion, number one. Number two, give priority only to doubling and tripling projects, because that gives you immediate relief. And this is a low-hanging fruit. And typically, a new project will cost you about say 10 crores per kilometer. The doubling project will cost you only 60% of that, 6 crores a kilometer. Then again the land is available next door, so land acquisition is not an issue. So we can complete the project faster and give immediate relief to you. You want to go from one place to another and already going in a crowded train, if then there is a next door track, we can always increase it. And the doubling does not increase the capacity only 2 times. It increases even more than 2 times. Because then there are some halting stations, there are some passing stations, so which gives you more leeway to operate more capacity. So what we are doing is that second. Third, electrification. What electrification we have done in the last several decades, we are going to double this in the course of next 5 years. Already a detailed plan of electrification has been prepared and is under implementation. All of this needed huge resources. Typically our budget is to 30,000-40,000 crores a year. We increase it. First budget I presented 1 lakh crore. Last budget was 1,11,000 crore, and this year is 1,31,000 crore. Together is 3,50,000 crores of capex is going to into the railways.
Will that be adequate to meet your targets?
I mean, target is enough, but requirement is even bigger. But where the requirement comes from? Because of backlog of not doing enough in the past. The modernization has not happened, renovation has not happened, the new technology has not been introduced. So backlog is huge. So if you go by the backlog, the requirement is even higher. But then we cannot, the wish list cannot be also disregarding the reality of life. I have the same organization, I have to deliver. The same people now have increased the completion of project and commissioning. We changed the definition of project from completion. That means project is completed but not yet operational. I said no, we must commission the project. So that means when we say commission, that means from the next day a train can run on that project.
So Mr. Prabhu, you are saying that there is a lot of focus as far as outcomes are concerned, and the outcomes should be visible on the ground, and that is your focus. You also interestingly said that earlier 10 announcements were made and then there was no stock taking in the next budget. So would you say that with a merged budget, populism has become a thing of the past?
There's a difference between populism, as we commonly call it, and what is required for the people. So if you make it people-centric,
this is depoliticized now.
So depoliticization is the right word, you are absolutely right. That's what we did. What is depoliticization? First, I am not giving you a money because you are from my party. I am not giving particular allocation to a particular state because they belong to a particular ideology. We are doing it on need-based basis. I will give an example. Kerala never got enough allocation. That's how all the members of parliament from all political parties from Kerala used to come and say that in the parliament. Odisha, one of the states which doesn't have the so-called political cloud, smaller state, good people, very good people in the country, but they never got allotment. What is Odisha's profile? They are one of the largest mineral reserves in the country. One of the largest. Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, that mineral belt. They never got allocation. I gave allocation to Odisha more than what they could even have asked for.
Isn't it true that Odisha is one state, besides of course the northeastern states, where there needs to be greater railway connectivity into hitherto unconnected or remote areas, and how are you planning to address that?
See, the whole purpose, if you take the big picture, the whole idea is shortest possible time, increase the convenience of the passenger by providing better connectivity, augmenting capacity, doubling, tripling electrification, which is also cost saving. I will tell you, railway is a preferred mode of transportation over road for a simple reason, it is also environment friendly amongst others. But if the railway is using the electricity or the energy like diesel, which is again imported and also coming from the same fossil fuel family which actually adds to greenhouse gases, how are you helping? So we are changing the energy mix. This is environmentally good but also makes economic sense.
The 41K solar power project is what you're referring to.
We are doing 3,000 or 4,000 crores of saving in the railways on energy. Now we are launched a program, 41,000 crores of saving in energy in the next 10 years by doing what you mentioned. Solar will be the largest single solar producer in the country, 1,000 megawatts. We are using the entire solar, the rooftop for solar paneling. First solar top train is currently running as a Science Express today. As we talk, while we talk with this train is running. We are doing waste to energy. We are doing
Focusing on
energy
biotargets
audits.
as well, yeah. So there are various sustainable development measures that the railways is taking, but on the issue of connectivity, reports suggest that Niti Aayog is of the view that there should be a separate program or a separate scheme for connectivity in the northeastern states and areas which are still not connected with the railways, and for that there should be allocation beyond the current allocations. Would you be receptive to the idea if that recommendation is
We'll
made?
be more than happy to work on any new ideas where the new funding is going to come. As I gave an example, we already increased the funding manifold. If some more funding can come, we can do that. But just to put the issue into perspective for the northeastern states, there are 8 states, including Sikkim. We already provided connectivity. State capitals are linked except Sikkim, because that, again, we sorted out the issue. I went to Darjeeling because the line is going to go from Darjeeling. So there is a Gurkha Council, autonomous council. I have requested them. They are going to give permission because most of the land is going to be acquired on this side. There is, of course, tunneling going below the surface, but still we need the permission. So we did that. So now all these lines will be connected. The allocation for Northeast has again gone up significantly. We are already linking to the Northeast, Bangladesh border. Already trains are flying. Myanmar border on this side. Nepal, I was just there, so we are trying to do that. So entire Northeast is not going to be connected to each other, but through Northeast will connect to the eastern part of the world, which is going to be the new hub for development. So just imagine the connectivity is provided to this part of the country. Automatically, these people will get an opportunity to get connected to rest of the world, and just imagine the employment opportunity, the economic opportunity that will be available to them.
On that note, we'll take a break on Candid Conversation. After the break, we will talk to Railways Minister Suresh Prabhu about resource mobilization in railways and the issue of railway safety. Stay tuned.
जब जेब में पैसे नहीं है तो ऑटो का कौन देगा?
भीम देगा। सिंपल है। यूपीआई पिन सेट करो, भेजो और डन। 1, 2, 3।
भीम ऐप डाउनलोड करें, पर अपने मोबाइल नंबर को बैंक खाते से जोड़ना ना भूलें।
भैया 2 कोल्ड ड्रिंक देना।
30 रुपए दे दो।
पर एमआरपी के हिसाब से तो सिर्फ 24 रुपए हुए।
एमआरपी को छोड़ो, ठंडा करने के लिए बर्फ भी तो लगता है।
पर आप एमआरपी से ज्यादा नहीं ले सकते, ये गलत है।
जी हाँ, एमआरपी जानना हर ग्राहक का हक है।
अगर कोई दुकानदार एमआरपी से अधिक डिमांड करे तो उसके खिलाफ अपने राज्य के विधिक माप विज्ञान विभाग में शिकायत करें। आप नेशनल कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन की भी मदद ले सकते हैं।
सफलता के लिए चाहिए बंधनों से मुक्ति।
जीएसटी देश भर में उत्पादों के बाधा रहित प्रवाह और व्यापार की सुगमता के लिए।
जीएसटी, एक राष्ट्र, एक कर, एक बाजार।
क्या बात है राशिद? फर्स्ट डिवीजन में पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करने के बाद भी तुम उदास हो?
लेकिन सर वो
सोच रहे होगे कि खर्चा कहाँ से आएगा? हैं? चिंता मत करो, क्योंकि अब तुम्हारे साथ है मौलाना आजाद नेशनल फेलोशिप
हमारे लिए सर।
हाँ, तुम्हारे लिए और अल्पसंख्यक समुदाय के उन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जिनकी सालाना पारिवारिक आय 2.5 लाख रुपए से कम है और जिन्होंने किसी भी सरकारी विश्वविद्यालय से जूनियर रिसर्च फेलोशिप या एमफिल के लिए आवेदन दिया।
मदद हमारी, मंजिल आपकी।
Welcome back. You're watching Candid Conversation. Our guest this week is Railways Minister Suresh Prabhu. Mr. Prabhu, earlier this month in the Lok Sabha, you had expressed concern over the fact that there were 18 sabotage attempts involving rail tracks in a matter of just 40 days. And in the budget, we saw that there was an announcement of 1 lakh crore rupees of rail safety corpus for addressing these concerns. How exactly will that money be used, and how will these rail safety related issues be addressed?
When you say safety, it manifests into several different aspects. Safety would mean that your entire track that you lay should be safe. It means the interaction that happens between the track and the wheel, which also should happen properly. So the rolling stock interaction is also important. It means that the material that you use in the railways, the rolling stock, should be such that it's not susceptible to fire. It also means that a signaling system of the railways should be such that will give you enough safety wall to ensure that there is no collision or there is no other problem that takes place. So all of the issues together will mean safety. Again, there have been instances which have been reduced significantly now, is the interface that happens with the railways and the vehicles, the motor cars, because they cross the railway tracks and they could meet with an accident. So we are trying to put ROBs and we are trying to make more level crossings in an automatic way. So all of this together is a function of safety. So when you talk about safety, you have to take care of each and every aspect of this and to make sure that this is solved. So this 1 lakh crore will be used to multiple factors: renovation, retrofitting, modernization of rolling stock, laying tracks, constant monitoring of those tracks using machine. See, the human error is also cause of certain accidents. So how do you eliminate human error? So we are training them in a significant way. We are also trying to revisit all our safety manuals to ensure that they conform to the present requirements. At the same time, use machines as much as possible, which will give early detection of the cracks on the track or whatever it is.
On the issue of resource mobilization, we know that the railways has been working assiduously over the years to bring about a financial turnaround. One way of achieving that is that you increase the share of railways in carrying freight traffic and passenger traffic, which over the years has seen a decline, though there has been a pickup in the last 2 months or so. So on that front, what do you plan to do?
See, you are absolutely right. See, the traditional sources of revenues of the railways were only two: passengers and a freight. Passengers 1/3, freight 2/3. Freight will be determined by the factors beyond the railways. For example, there is less mining activity, there is no demand for steel, there is not so much demand for electricity. Coal is 50% of the total volume that we handle on trade. Steel, cement, iron ore are the major 5 commodities that we tackle. So that will depend upon the external factors external to the railways. But we changed the entire freight policy. We have made it as friendly as possible to the market in consultation with them. So that is showing results now. What you are saying in the last 3 months, the freight is again rising. Passengers will have another choice now. If you going by home to your destination, there are roads linking home to destination. So why would you spend more money coming to the station or by rickshaw or by taxi or something else? Take a train, go to reach a destination, again take another rickshaw or taxi and go to your home. So that is a issue. So we have to work out a proper pricing strategy for that, which we are doing. But for the first time, what we are doing in the railway is to create a non-fare revenue directorate, which I announced in my budget speech. Non-fare revenue, our target is to get 17,500 crores. I already issued the policy. In the next, at the end of 10 years, every year we will continue to get that by monetizing all our assets, which is through advertisement. Because railways, another advantage of railways is the highest form of eyeballs and footfalls. We never tried to monetize on that and capitalize on that, which we are doing now. So non-fare revenue directed. Another measure is station redevelopment. We already put 41 stations on bidding. Another 50, 60 will come soon. Another 100 will come later. So we are working on that. That will also generate revenue. So non-fare revenue is another stream which was started for the first time, which ultimately, over a period of time, it should get to 1/3 of the revenue of the railways, because today there is hardly anything. This is on the part of revenues, which is part of resource mobilization. But this is not enough to get resources for capital expenditure, because these are only revenue generation. Nowhere in the world you can create capacity, particularly for the infrastructure, by depending upon your current revenue. So what we are doing for that, we are raising resources, one from Life Insurance Corporation, other from multilateral agencies, third from pension funds, fourth from the commercial banks, and all of this together is going to meet our requirement for capital.
The budget has also announced the listing of a few railway PSCs on stock exchanges for a better fund infusion and market competitiveness. Did you anticipate that?
In fact, again you go to my previous budget, I had said we'll create a holdco, holding company for all the railway PSUs. So this is in line with that. So in fact, if you really look at first budget to second budget I presented, The third budget, which is of course not as comprehensively dealing with railways because it's a general budget, that he's not presenting the budget as a railway minister, he's presenting as a finance minister, so he has to talk on so many issues. But the direction of the first two budget is same for the third budget, and in fact the third budget is even taking the next step forward as the second budget took the next step as compared to the first one. So this is in line with that, and we feel that we must reap the benefit of this underlying value of these assets. We should try to get that.
On that note, we'll take another break on a Candid Conversation. After the break, we will ask Railways Minister Suresh Prabhu about how Railways has fared on the announcements that were made in the last budget. Stay tuned.
जब जेब में पैसे नहीं है तो ऑटो का कौन देगा?
भीम देगा। सिंपल है। यूपीआई पिन सेट करो, भेजो और डन। 1, 2, 3।
भीम ऐप डाउनलोड करें, पर अपने मोबाइल नंबर को बैंक खाते से जोड़ना ना भूलें।
मैं ये नहीं पूछूंगा कि आप शौच के लिए कहाँ गए। मैं ये भी नहीं पूछूंगा कि अगर आप खुले में शौच के लिए गए तो क्या आपने अपने बच्चे की जान को खतरे में डाला? क्या आपके गांव की बच्चियों को खुले में शौच करते हुए किसी ने बुरी नजर से देखा? आप खुद समझदार हैं, सक्षम हैं। आप ये तो जानते ही होंगे कि हमारे देश में 70,000 से ज्यादा गांवों के लोगों ने खुले में शौच की प्रथा को खत्म कर दिया है। गांव के बच्चे, महिला, पुरुष सब इस लक्ष्य में जुटे। निगरानी समितियां बनी जिन्होंने खुले में शौच कर रहे लोगों को समझाया, शौचालय बनाया, उनका इस्तेमाल करना सिखाया। क्या आपका गांव भी बनेगा खुले में शौच से मुक्त? आइए स्वच्छ भारत अभियान से जुड़िए। अब नहीं तो कब?
क्या आपके साथ भी ऐसा हुआ है? ग्राहक होने के नाते धोखा? क्या आप चुपचाप सहन करके बैठ जाते हैं या अपने हक की लड़ाई लड़ते हैं? मेरे साथ भी धोखा हुआ। बस अपनी शिकायत लिखी, अपोजिट पार्टी के फैक्ट्स और डॉक्यूमेंट्स के साथ कंज्यूमर फोरम में जमा कर दी। न वकील की फीस लगी और फैसला भी 3 महीने में आ गया। आप भी सोचिए मत, अपने हक की लड़ाई कंज्यूमर फोरम में लड़िए।
जागो ग्राहक जागो।
Welcome back. You're watching Candid Conversation. Our guest this week is Railways Minister Suresh Prabhu. Mr. Prabhu, we've been hearing about an independent or an autonomous railway tariff setting authority. It is now being called a Rail Development Authority. We've also seen reports that there could well be a legislative route taken for it, though there is another view that there could have been an executive order to bring that about. But the question is, who will be setting fares now? Will there be a Railway Development Authority in existence this year?
See, again, this was mentioned in my previous budget speech, and since then this ball is already set in motion. It should go to the cabinet soon. The idea is threefold. One, they will decide in an objective manner how much should be the fare and how much should be the freight. But if you just keep deciding fare and freight based on your existing cost, then you are not accounting for or factoring in the efficiency. So the second element of this will be how to improve efficiency of railway organization. Normally efficiency parameters cannot be decided by me alone. Since I am very efficient because I work 1 hour a day, I can claim that. But somebody else must see what is my potential and whether I am working to my full potential or not. So efficiency parameter has to be decided by somebody else. So this authority will do that. And the third is deciding about private-public partnership. Normally, private-public partnership is always fraught with a problem, because if it decided by me alone as a monopoly, the railway, which railway is, they will try to be either biased in favor of railways, that would mean that would deter private sector to come in, or it would be compromising public interest by too much of favor of the private sector.
You're essentially saying there will be a number of functions that the Rail Development Authority will be undertaking. Okay.
And inevitably, this has to be done by an agency not necessarily directly working for the railway. So it has to be a little bit hands-off relationship, but at the same time must understand the railway's functioning as well. So we are already moving in that direction, and I hope we'll be seeing a news very soon on Doordarshan that it has been created.
So should I say that the next railways fare setting would be done by the authority?
I will not
or
be
would it
able
be
to
done
say
by
on
the
that,
railways?
comment on that right now, but what I will say is that these are the functions of this authority.
How have you fared, Mr. Prabhu, on implementation of the schemes that were announced in the last budget?
See, we are done, as I said, each and every announcement made in the railway budget is either fully implemented or under various stages of implementation. Each and every announcement. This is monitored on a weekly basis by me personally. Also it has been given responsibility for the railway board. And whatever was announced in the first budget, first time in railways history, we gave an action taken report to the parliament. The second budget is not, because the third budget was not presented, but I am already monitoring all actions have been under various stages of implementation. Now some issues which go beyond a year. For example, when we start station redevelopment program, you have to have a lot of spade work to be done, which we have already done, and we have launched it. First, Gandhinagar is already, Honorable Prime Minister said, the foundation stone. Surat at very advanced stage is another 41 station, which is at the different levels of implementation. In Gandhinagar, there are 300 rooms of 7-star hotel which is going to come up there. So just imagine the type of development that will happen in the railways. So we are working on each of that. I know there are certain issues which goes beyond the railways ministries, but we are engaging with all the stakeholders to ensure that their participation will reveal. So we are organizing round table on each and every subject that I announced in my budget.
Rail shiver.
So we don't move into the circles, but we take round to make sure that we actually put everything on the table and try to solve the problem.
Improving passenger amenities was one of the key focus insofar as the railways part of the budget is concerned, and there was focus on Swachh Rail, on having a single window interface for grievance redressal of passengers, etc. How important is consumer satisfaction to the railways?
So that's the most important one. See, therefore, this was again, we said customer satisfaction. We know first time we said not passengers, but customers, because they are the ones who are not just passengers are passing and going, but we consider them as constant engagement with them. So first, when they start traveling, the ticketing experience. So I am now even going to the next step of making an integrated app for that. Catering, cleanliness, onboard services, interiors of the train, when they get down, how they are taken out of that. So wheelchairs and others, escalators, all of that is part of a strategy, and we are all under the implementation at various stages. Some people say, why not all at the same time? I wish I had the resources to do everything at the same time. So I will definitely attempting to do that, but we are absolutely right. The focus is a customer, either as a passenger who is traveling or as a freight that he provides to us. So both are customers, and customer is a focus of all our activity.
By when can we expect a complete transformation of the railways into the next generation railways?
So, that depends upon what you call it as the next generation. So definitely it will happen in our generation, that the next generation we don't have to wait for that. But I am saying is we are working on that, and there will be, in my opinion, the first round of the change that we are, because every time it takes 5 years, so 5 years is the minimum time. The next 5 years we like to double the investment, 8,50,000 crores. Next year will be about 17-18 lakh crores, or maybe 20 lakh crores. Then you can see a substantial change. In China, what you see today has happened over the last 30-35 years. In Japan, even if it's longer, because Japanese were also learning, they had the first bullet train when they were the first Olympics, if I'm not mistaken, about 40 years ago or something. So this takes time. This is not something which happens overnight. But at the same time, whatever small little change that people can see it and feel it and make it part of their life, we are trying to do this. But as you said, substantial change will take not substantial time, but time.
All right. On that note, I'll thank you, Mr. Prabhu, for speaking to us on Candid Conversation. All the very best to you in your endeavours to give a major facelift to the railways. Thank you.